Okay, let's try this again. Hi, Amazeum family and maker friends. I'm here with David Kersey of Pixel.
Yep.
And you're a professional animator.
You know, I have done professional animation type of work.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second.
So I won't burden you with the title of professional animator. Is that where we're gonna go? All right, let's talk about that.
Because it really does help describe what animation is and what the animation world is about.
Right.
So I have done animation, and which is actually making something move.
Okay.
Moving pictures, or a moving thing, or a completely created moving thing digitally.
So let me back up on that one just a little. So what most people would be familiar with, the idea of like a flip book or like an old school Nickelodeon SpongeBob.
Yes.
That's a drawn cartoon. And you think about drawing pages and then flipping those. We all did that, right? So what then is digital animation? Because that's physical animation, right?
That's hand-drawn animation, as
Right.
they say, and can be digital.
Okay.
Right? Because you can draw it on an iPad now, and it will be digital, right? So.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
And then even when you viewed the hand-drawn animation, you viewed it in a digital format. So how do we really determine what's digital and what's not?
Right. Oh, now you're getting into Matrix stuff here. Okay.
This is philosophy.
Let's hear it. I'm ready. I'm excited.
I don't think you really do determine the difference. But if we want to say, and we talk about animation as a career, there is hand-drawn animators that are rare dinosaurs now, because unfortunately hand-drawn animation is they're not making a lot of animated movies at the hand-drawn level now. It's more CGI stuff, which is 3D modeled characters that are animated with rigs, with control systems in there, bones and joints and blend shapes that make the
That's the computer generated like green screen, and we've all seen like people in the suits with the little dots on them.
No, completely different.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is in the industry called visual effects.
Okay.
So visual effects is the combination of a CGI or computer generated, well, let's say CGI is computer generated imagery, but let's say computer generated element.
Okay.
Right? Like a character or a person combined in the real world.
Okay.
And the dots are basically a way to give that character motion. It's like if I want to animate a walk cycle, I could put on one of those suits and walk and record that data and then make the character walk in the world.
So you basically draw over that image.
No, actually, the dots are motion curves, and the rig for the character in the computer has a equivalent dot on it.
Is that like the bones you're talking about?
Yes.
So it's like
So the actor's like the skeleton of your character.
Basically, yes. It creates a motion curve that then gets applied to the bone system that basically just mimics the same motion that you're doing in live action onto the animated character. It basically just mimics the same motion that you're doing in live action onto the animated character.
So then you've got what would be like a movie that we're all familiar with? Would that be Avatar?
Avatar for sure. Lord of the Rings is one of the major ones that started doing it very beginning. Well, the Polar Express, the very first project that I worked on, my first big project, motion capture was the thing, and they did motion capture for every actor.
So like Tom Hanks when he's
all of that. He had a face suit on, basically dots on, not face suit, but dots on his face and dots on his body, and we recorded everything.
Wow.
And I didn't animate a thing on that movie, but I was a digital artist on the movie. And, well, I say I didn't animate anything. I did do hair simulation.
Which is a whole thing, I hear.
Which is a whole thing. So I did hair creation and simulation on that movie. So I created Santa Claus's beard, and I worked with another rigging artist to build a control system to keep that beard from going through his chest and to
So
sit out there.
That's like physics now. You're talking about the physics of the character.
Very much so.
And the world that the character's in.
Yeah, so the wind, right? The character's got on top of the train and his hair is blowing in the wind.
Right.
So we had to use simulation properties on the hair to make it move in the wind, and it would blow fast or slow or very subtle in the breeze. And so I was a part of a team that solely focused on hair creation and hair simulation. It was basically, how did the hair exist as, I guess, its own character in the movie, its own element that a team worked on.
Right.
Then there were animators. Well, on that movie, not so many. There were animators that definitely did a lot of animation. There were a lot. But they did a lot of fixing of the motion capture data.
Okay.
So then let's jump to Tangled, for example.
All about hair.
All about hair. And it's at a point in my career where I don't want to do any more hair. I was done with hair.
Done with hair.
But it's the first movie that I got hired for at Disney.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get out of the hair department into what was called look development, which was the textures and the materials that made up the elements of the world. So if it looked like brick, or if it looked like wood, or skin, or cloth, cotton, or satin, or whatever, our team made the elements in the movie look and feel like the material that they were made of.
So this is, because we both worked for Disney.
Right.
So I did. You were the next generation, because what I did was the physical stuff. I worked particularly developing theme park stuff and things like that back in my Chicago Scenic days.
Okay.
And then I see, like you were talking about CGI and this work coming along and developing that, and it's down now to things like hair, and if you look back on Polar Express, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of the first movies you worked on. So you look at the characters in Polar Express, and their, for lack of a better way of saying it, their humanity is a little less alive than like Tangled,
but that came from the motion capture. That was because they relied on real people to act, and they transferred that acting to a character. And it turns out we're really boring.
Okay.
We are.
Yeah.
And then you give an animator the power. The animator in Tangled now can take a character and stretch its arm a little further, bend its back a little more, tilt its head more, make its eyes bigger,
yeah.
Bigger smile, bigger emotion, so the animation comes alive way more than live actors trying to do the acting. So in that world, there was no motion capture. It was what they do, there's not motion capture, but they record the actor, whoever the star actor is, they record the actors doing the voiceovers. And
right.
Even in those moments, the actors will tilt their head or have a gesture that is theirs, right? That's their personality. And the animators are watching those videos and bringing those things in there. Then the animator is also recording himself in his office or in the hallway of Disney, acting out what animation that he wants his character to do, and he's trying to do it as extreme as he can to get a feel.
So you talked about Lord of the Rings before. So Gollum in Lord of the Rings, right? So the actor Andy Serkis, who's an incredibly talented physical actor, and he's studied clown school, and he has all these physicalities. He was the body model for King Kong.
Okay.
He was the body model for Planet of the Apes, right? He was Caesar in Planet of the Apes.
Right.
So you actually have actors now who specialize in being those sorts of physical actors.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this is an entire art form beyond. Okay, so that opens a new door. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
So digital art and saying digital art with a capital A, right?
Yeah.
So this is an art form. Absolutely an art form.
Well, in art form in 10 levels.
Right.
From the, like we were talking about, the stories that you're working on. From the story idea all the way down to the artwork that describes the world, to the digital artist that has to take it from 2D hand-drawn idea to 3D world, to the almost computer scientist guy that builds the controls in there that allows the animator to move it, to the person that puts the lights in there, to the finer color artist who puts the color on the whole thing, to the export to film.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So I do 3D, but the 3D that I do is more technical. I do design work for if you have a machine that you need built or something like that, I can help you design that in the computer. Mm-hmm. But I don't do animation. I don't do art really. Mine's more technical. But with a little
I would
bit of art.
argue with that big.
I'll go little art.
Argue with there's a large art in the components that you design that make up a machine.
I will. So there was definitely a time in my life
As a scenic artist, that I describe myself as an artist, but I have a problem with it today because mostly because what I did for years was really take, like, you would design and create a piece,
right?
And then I would take your designs and I'd turn it into a physical object,
Right.
So I wasn't creating the art; you were creating the art. I was creating the artifice, right?
Right.
Right. But along those lines, seeing this as an art form and understanding that there's this technology that's behind it. You said layers, right? So there's this technology. There's the physical aspect of it. If you want to learn 3D design and do a little more like I do, that's a physical, technical drawing,
Right.
as opposed to an art piece necessarily. And then there's the structural design and the physics of animation, and then there's the artwork and the polish that you put on it.
Right.
So you have all of these layers, which means that to create a movie or even a television commercial or anything along those lines, there's a team of people who are doing that, and everybody's kind of got their piece in that team.
Yeah.
So let's go in.
And let me just pause.
Okay.
Each one of those is an individual career.
Well, that's where I'm getting.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind,
If parents at home,
Yeah.
kids at home,
Yeah.
if this is something they were interested in doing, where do you start?
I have that conversation a lot. Well, it starts with you, the
Right.
kid, right? And I try to talk to them about doing everything they can to get a global understanding of what it all is, right? And I know that can be a lot, but hopefully, like, even this video can sort of start to open up some of their eyes of the individual pieces. Are you a technical artist? Are you the creator of the world and the character? Where do you feel like you fit in, right? And then start to develop your skill set around those pieces. Okay. So artistically, drawing. And drawing is very important across the board, but there were people at Disney that were digital artists, and there were actually some animators that couldn't draw at all. Barely draw a stick figure, but they could act. They were actors, and they knew stage presence, and they could take the controls given to them, and they could form the thing. Physicality. They could shape the body the way they wanted to, but they couldn't draw the outline and the shadows and all that stuff.
Right.
I still would say it's highly important and made the best animators even better, the ones that could draw it out and do beautiful artwork. It's definitely a way plus. But it's not the end all be all. And I still tell all my students, draw.
Right.
You'll get better and you'll get better. And you'll get to a point where it's going to influence your art digitally. because it develops a creative eye. When you draw, you develop your creative eye. You see shape, and you see volume, and you see composition, and all the basic principles of design and art. So it's vast, and so I say that's where you start. You start to try to grasp where you are or what you're most interested in fitting into the world of animation, and whether it be movie creation or it be just content creation, or are you the storyteller? You know what I mean? There's so many places. So it starts with you.
Okay. So I found my passion. I'm excited. So I want to get into this. So you want to find, things on YouTube. You want to discover, maybe you start with some free software, and then eventually you say, all right, now I want to get some formal lessons. So let's talk about Pixel.
Yeah, so Pixel is currently has a lot of programming built for kids to get them into that world. And that's, as I started working on it here in Northwest Arkansas, that was what I realized, is that not a lot of kids knew that this was a possibility for them.
Right.
And even what it was. And so our kid programming is in the form of Nerdies, our week-long camps to give an introduction, to get you excited, to ignite that little passion inside you to do it. And then we partner with local schools to go on site to the schools to actually teach in the classroom, and hopefully at one of your schools that's available, we can be there to help teach a class or to build a whole program within your school. So that possibility exists. And then all the way up into the adult level classes that aren't currently being offered. We are developing that program. Basically redeveloping it to really make sure that we have the right content and the right mentors, instructors locally to offer it in the best way that we can, and then engaging my network in LA and just the global internet of online resources to combine that with a local person, so that if you're locally here, you're not just taking an online course and you don't have anybody to talk to.
Right, creating that network, that community.
The combination of those here, so that Pixel can be your local resource for information around becoming a digital artist.
And I'll say this, and parents, this is something for you to think about. So a lot of kids are into video games today, and that's huge amounts of animation and design, storytelling, so much in that. I had years ago, I had a discussion with a parent, and her daughter just got accepted to MIT, and she wants to be an animator. She wants to do this kind of work. She's incredibly talented, of course.
Yeah.
But that is an opportunity that her mom didn't know existed. Right. So when she came to me the first time, she was interested. She said, I want her to learn to code and program. And so code and programming, we all talk about that. We need a job, right? So I said, well, why coding and programming? And she said, well, I think it's important that she find a job, which is really what, as parents, that's what we all want for our kids, right? Good career, take care of yourself.
To work.
Yeah, get to work. But she said, I'm really interested in her doing this. I said, well, does she like coding and programming? And she said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, then tell me what she loves. And she goes, oh, she loves art. She loves art. And I said, is she any good at it? And she goes, oh, yes. And she completely lit up talking about her daughter and how much she loves art. And she said she's won this award, and she's just spectacular. And to hear her talk about it, and I said, well, then why are you encouraging her to do that? And she goes, well, I want her to have a job. So you and I both, artists, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at her and I said, the video game industry is $29 billion a year. That was years ago. Now it's so much more. So I said, it's $29 billion a year. And she goes, I don't understand.
One game, I think, sold $1 trillion.
Oh,
not a trillion, like a couple billion. No, hundreds of billions.
I'm sure. But she didn't understand. And I said,
video games, they need artists. They need people who can create this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. I told you this earlier. I have a friend who's an animator who his almost exclusively does training films.
Yeah.
And so there's a world that is open to, and if you're passionate about art, this is a great thing for you to do. And there's technology. There's no end to the possibilities.
Well, yes. I mean, I feel like I've been talking about this since I moved to Northwest Arkansas, but also it is literally, fortunately for me, it is literally my story. Like literally my story in life. Like I was drawing pictures, I was painting in middle school and elementary school, I was selling $5 portraits when I was in high school to just whoever would take one, and I got introduced to a computer. When I was a sophomore in high school, I got introduced to a computer and they made the movie Toy Story, and I have no idea why my brain just put the two together, but I realized there's a career path when you combine art and technology.
Yeah.
And that is what Pixel's all about. That is what animation is about. It is your career path for an artist. It is and sort of tell my parents, it's the way I'm not going to be a starving artist, Mom. You know what I mean? I'm going to use technology because there's just so many career possibilities, especially, and they're growing dramatically. I mean, I'm videoing this with my phone.
On a gimbal rig, that 10 years ago I'd have paid $50,000 for.
A lot of money. But this video is going to be streamed out to someone like going to grab a coffee. And they're going to watch it and they're going to absorb that content.
Well, and that's the thing. We live in a world today where
the art that you create, and we talked about this earlier, the off camera.
Yeah.
The art that you create has value because you can instantaneously go from what is in your mind, in your heart, to the entire world. You can almost seamlessly and without hesitation create something that any one of us can put out for the entire world to see. The entire world is our audience.
Yeah, and that value is, you could go into the conversation of the value. Mm-hmm. It could be a value personally. It could be, it's a monetary product for a business. Mm-hmm. You're going to sell something from that video. Most likely you're looking to get somebody to sign up for something or buy a course or buy a product. Like all of these skill sets are vast and they
not
grow.
To mention just the emotional value of creating something that came out from you that people are excited about, and
that's
a huge win. That's the personal win. Yeah. Oh yeah. And that here you are, you're a kid or you're a teen or you're going into adulthood and you're creative and you're an artist and you're like, man, I made money off of doing something that I really love to do.
Exactly.
And I wake up every day and I get to be excited about going to work.
And that's where we're going to end it. That's perfect. So, David Kersey is here in Northwest Arkansas. Check out Pixel. What's your website?
LearnPixel.org.
LearnPixel.org.
Check them out. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you want to learn more about animation, check out all the social media from the Amazeum this week. And we look forward to seeing everybody. We miss you.
See ya.
Bye, guys.